If you're a doctor considering helping clients with hair loss, you probably run into these problems. Expensive upfront equipment purchases just to get started, some more than $100,000. A lot of time requirements from you, the doctor, and your patients may be not able to afford a $10,000 to $30,000 fee. In the show today, you're going to learn about a brand new device out of Europe, which has been proven effective, where you can easily take just a few grafts of hair, you separate out the hair stem cells from that hair, mix it with a growth factor stimulator like PRP or exosomes, and inject that into the scalp to stimulate hair growth again. The entire process takes around an hour in total, and your staff can do most of the work. Patients have usually seen around a 20% increase in hair density and growth, and your office overhead is around $500 per patient, and the average patient charge is only $4,000 to $6,000. You want to learn more? Cue the intro. Hi, I'm Dr. Ross Carter with the Medical Influencer Show. Today, my guest is Alvin. Welcome to the show, Alvin.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. Well, you're welcome. Thanks for being a part of the show today. And today, I'm excited because we're going to talk about a kind of a sensitive subject sometimes. So tell me some things about the hair replacement or implants and hair in general.
PRP has been around for about 5 years, right? 5 years ago, nobody was using it. Nobody believed in it.
You mean for hair?
For hair.
Yeah, okay. It's been around a while, but yeah, for hair.
And now they're more open to it. Now you're seeing doctors' offices doing just PRP by itself.
So they're injecting the PRP into the hair follicle area, right?
Correct.
And does that help?
It does help, but it's only helping the current hair that you have, right? So if you have the follicle still there, it's making it stronger, longer, and be able to stay there longer. And the way how hair transplant happens, let's talk about how that happens, right?
Oh, yeah.
One of the ways you can do transplant without actually doing through the surgical transplant is what we call stem cell transplant.
Stem cell transplant.
From your hair follicles. So you're basically taking grafts from the back of your head, very similar to how you're doing a hair transplant, right? When you're doing a hair transplant, you take a graft or hair follicles and transplant them one by one.
Right. The FI or FEU or...
Right, FEU, yeah. FUU, FUET. When you're doing stem cells, you're basically taking 3 small little grafts from the back of the head, punch grafts.
Uh-huh. And those are small. How big are those?
About 2 millimeters each.
Okay, so you won't be able to see them.
Right, you're not going to be able to see it, but inside it's got what's called the bulge, where the stem cells are.
Okay, these are hair stem cells.
Correct. These are stem cell directly from the hair. They're coming directly.
Okay.
So instead of actually doing a hair transplant, you're doing stem cells transplant from your own hair.
So hair stem cells.
Right.
Okay.
So you're doing hair transplants, but you're not doing like 2,000 grafts of them. You're basically taking 3 to 4 grafts of them, put it into our kit, which basically what that kit does is basically kind of separates the stem cells from the hair, and then it activates it, and then you mix it with PRP, and you transplant the hair stem cell follicles.
All right, so you're saying that you're taking stem cells from your own hair, not not like mesenchymal, but you're using hair stem cells that are still active, just a few of them. Yep. You're taking that and you're kind of separating them out from the other material.
Correct.
And then you're using a growth factor, which is a PRP or some other growth factor, to stimulate them to start the process of actually creating new hair.
Correct. So now you're not just growing your own, because PRP was working with your existing hair.
Right.
Here you're planting new seeds. Now, let me make a disclaimer here. If you're completely bald and you have that shiny spot on the very top and you just have that very line, you're not going to see much growth.
Okay.
Because that whole area is basically like a desert, as we call it, right? A desert that's going to be very difficult to grow. So the key factor of doing this is you don't want to wait too long until you get to that stage of no return, right? You want to take preventative process and do it early when you're starting to see that hairline decline, such as myself, right?
Or me.
Your hairline's still good. You may want to use it for preventative basis, right? You want to continue to make it stronger.
Now, it won't, some of them, when you do it, it'll actually kill some of the other ones that I've seen that before, where they did the implants, but it actually affected the other hair that was there. Does that happen or no?
No, because the reason why I was killing it because you were making when you're doing the hair transplant, you were doing punches in that new area. Mm-hmm. So you're also kind of like splitting the seeds, as if you want to call it.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Here, you're basically injecting more of a liquid. You're not cutting anything. You're using like a 19 or 21 gauge needle, depending on your preference, and you're injecting it into the area that you want to treat.
Now, I assume you numb this area first?
Yes, but you don't want to. You want a numbing cream, or you don't want anything inside of the actual. You don't want anything to affect the stem cells once it.
Sorry for the interruption. If you are interested in potentially adding hair restoration and regeneration to your practice, simply go to drrosscarter.com and fill out a form to learn more. Now, as a listener, you'll also receive 5 free PRP kits with any order. Again, go to drrosscarter.com right now and provide the information. On with the show.
Well, what kind of proof do you have, right?
Sure.
That's the biggest thing.
It worked.
So in the University of Rome, they did 2 studies, right? And those 2 studies, they used 31 patients, one with placebo and one with the process that we're talking about.
Okay.
In that study, they used our process, the separation of hair follicle stem cells, plus PRP.
Okay.
Okay. So of the average growth factor in forms of actual hair by the 0.65 centimeter square, it went from 69 hairs to 87.5 hairs.
How do you get 0.5 hairs?
Probably the little tip of the hair, right?
Just a little piece.
Coming out. So you're looking at an almost improvement about 20 to 25 hair follicles in that area that was treated. That's new hair growing. Because that was the baseline was 69. And the new one after this was taken after 44 weeks.
How big a space are we talking?
0.65 centimeters square.
Okay. I have no idea.
It's tiny.
Okay.
You got to use 200.
60 hairs to 80 hairs.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And that was on the placebo effect, where we all basically just use saline. Only 1 hair grew per centimeter square.
Okay.
So that was taking 31 patients and 31 patients. This was done in the University of Rome. This is just a recent study.
Got it.
In 2017, a very similar study was done as well, with not so much high-tech technology, but they still use a stem cell transplant. They had much bigger equipment. The equipment that we're talking about is about the size of a coffee maker, right? So it's gotten a lot smaller. And they had very similar results as well. Back then, they weren't using PRP. They used stem cells by themselves. And the growth factor went from 57 hairs to 69 hairs without the PRP factor. So you kind of have to have a little bit of both, right? You have to have the stem cells. You want to give it some food. And it's all done within the office itself. The whole procedure from beginning to end is very similar to a PRP treatment because if you're already accustomed to doing PRP, it's very similar. It's about 45 minutes to 90 minutes to be able to do the procedure completely. From extracting the 3 punches to extracting the stem cells to reinserting it back into the area you want to treat. One of the things that you had asked me before when we first talked about, well, what's the count? How many cells are there in those punches, right?
Yes.
So in those studies that we're talking about that they did in Europe, each punch that was taken out, and we recommend 3 punches,
yes,
the number of cells was 3,728 plus or minus 600.
Okay. So
per graft.
3,000-ish.
Yeah. So, and you're getting 3, so you're getting an average of about 10,000 cells within that mixture factor.
Okay.
You had inquired like, well, what's in there, right? What's the component that's actually doing it?
Yeah.
And so we were able to we asked that to the study, and that's what they gave us back. This is what was actually in each cell.
Okay.
And that was done by the micro needle, the nanometers measurement lighting factor that they use.
And you're saying that this process takes around an hour? That's it?
Around an hour, yeah.
That's really good because hair transplants takes a day.
Easily. For a case of 2,000 hair transplants, you're looking at about 6 to 8 hours sitting there from extraction. Then you take a lunch break, and then you put them in the front, right? So, and you're looking, and the majority of places don't have the doctors actually doing the whole hair transplant the whole time. They're coming in the beginning, and they're coming in when it's time for transplanting factor of it. Mm-hmm. So taking the doctor's time, anywhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours on hair transplants. When you're doing this type of device, you're looking at maybe 15, 20 minutes of your time, and then you can pass it along to the appropriate parties.
And the price difference is gigantic. That's another big consideration, right?
Right. So we took that into consideration. We want to make sure that a cost wasn't an issue.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we knew that when we're selling medical devices, the cost is always the issue.
Exactly.
It's convincing the doctor, here's how you're going to make money, not by doing 10 cases a month, but doing 1 or 2 cases when it comes to hair transplant.
Right.
Average surgeon in the United States doing hair transplants is doing 1 to 3 cases of hair transplants if they spent the money on the machine.
A month?
A month.
So 1 to 3 a month.
Yeah. People who bought the either ours or our competitors' machines for hair transplant, right? So
how did they get a return on investment on that?
The biggest feedback that we were getting with doctors is this: they were saying, my dust collector, right? Because they buy the machine and the majority of the time it's collecting dust.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that doesn't seem like a good return on it, especially some of those expensive like robotic machines that they have. They're ungodly amounts of money.
Yeah, those machines are good. I don't want to talk bad about those machines either, right? Because we also sell them, but there's a niche for it, right?
Yeah.
So if you're willing to spend the time as a doctor to invest your time and get trained, and you have complete control, you'll do extremely well. Uh-huh. But it takes not only capital for the device, also takes capital for the investment to bring in that patient into the door.
True.
The cost per patient.
You got to have a starter. You have to have some way to start.
Right, exactly. So what we say, hey, start to offer options to the patients. Mm-hmm. Teach them about PRP and stem cells derived directly from themselves and their own hair, and also have the option of hair transplant. So kind of like a loss leader, as we want to call it, right? Right. You're not really losing money, but it's not very expensive for the patient to get into. And the biggest obstacle for patients, too, to get hair transplant is the cost. To actually get a hair transplant, you're going to be spending between $10,000 to $14,000.
You mean as the doctor or as the patient?
As the patient.
The $10,000 to $14,000 is what the normal cost for patients for this
normal, correct. To get a 2,000 graft hair transplant, you're going to be spending anywhere between $10,000 to $15,000, depending on the doctor and the area you're going to.
That makes sense. Okay, well, that's a lot.
That's a lot because usually they charge you per graft, right? Per hair transplant that they're sending, and anywhere between $5 to $7 per graft.
So you're saying you got a PRP kit and this extraction kit. You know, you're only about $500 per patient after you have buy your device, right?
Right. Exactly.
Well, that's great. So what is a typical charge for a patient?
The average patient cost that we're seeing is about, depending on the demographics and the density of the demographics, between $3,900 on the low end and $4,500 on the high end. That's just one treatment.
Okay, so $3,900 to $4,500.
Yeah. Let me compare that to there's already people doing what we call the adipose transplant to the hair, where they're using fat stem cells derived from the cells. They're combining it with the PRP and they're combining it with the stem cells from fat. Mm-hmm. And they're charging between $6,500 to $7,500 for that. Here, you're using your own hair stem cells, not fat stem cells, but your own, where the growth is happening, and you're transplanting that. So it's more specific derived stem transplant.
And so tell us about what's the realistic results that this person will notice?
You're going to see about a 10% increase of overall hair growth. Mm-hmm. By the numbers that I told you on the case study that was done, that was almost a 28% increase of hair. But you don't want to tell that to a patient because it varies from person to person. So it's safe enough to be able to say a 10% increase of your hair growth and density.
Per time.
Per time, correct. But in reality, because you're having hair growth, but you're also having density growth. Mm-hmm. In reality, what the eye sees, the patient's going to see, they're probably going to see about a 25 to 30% increase.
Sorry for the interruption. If you are interested in potentially adding hair restoration and regeneration to your practice, simply go to drrosscarter.com and fill out a form to learn more. Now, as a listener, you'll also receive 5 free PRP kits with any order. Again, go to drrosscarter.com right now and provide the information,